Welcome to the Bikeshed podcast, where we dive into all things software engineering, argue over which terminal is truly worthy of your deity-like devotion, and remind you weekly why NeoVim is the one true IDE, while everything else is just an Electron app cosplaying as productivity. I'm your co-host, Tempest TypeScript Troll, Gargoyle of Golang, Scott K. And alongside me, my co-hosts. His blog post is your blueprint to success. His PR comments read like a sacred text, and every meeting he steps into becomes an architectural whiteboard exercise. Matt Hamlin. And my other co-host, the man whose opinions are so scorching hot, they don't just melt your performance metrics, they optimize and ship them. Dillon, Spicy Take Curry. Fellas, what are we cooking up today?
We got a short episode today. Well, maybe it'll be short. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up babbling on for an hour. We had a few, maybe sort of like a news flash episode. We got to work on the branding and the naming of it. But a few topics we wanted to cover. One, getting acquired by Anthropic, which is pretty interesting, exciting. Maybe we talk about that. And then right before we started recording, React just announced that they had a severity 10 vulnerability with React server components. So we're kind of scrambling to figure out what that is and how we fix it. Dillon, let's maybe bounce it to you. What do you want to start with first? Do we talk about React first?
Sure. It turns out if you're using Cloudflare and you use the WAF, which stands for Web Application Firewall, they just like patched it for you, which is actually really cool. It sounds like even if you're using the vulnerable version and you have this firewall, like you're protected already, which sounds great. Hopefully it's actually doing what it's supposed to. We were able to apply it in like minutes in reaction to this blog post, which is pretty sick. I don't know anything about like what this can actually cause to people's systems. It sounds like you can just run whatever code you want on somebody's server, potentially.
Also, in addition to Cloudflare patching it at the firewall, I think Vercel did something similar. I saw Railway announce something as well. And I think Netlify as well and Deno Deploy. So like a number of different sort of deploy infrastructure companies maybe were keyed in early also on the report, which is nice. One of the things that I'm finding interesting is like most of the server component frameworks built on top of React weren't keyed in. So Waku, which I use, had no idea about it until the public announcement of it, the disclosure of it. It seemed like Next.js knew about it though ahead of time, obviously, because they're basically the React team at this point. And there's like a number of other like meta frameworks and whatnot that also weren't keyed in early, which is to me is like kind of, I don't know, just yet another sort of bad taste in my mouth about the React team and framework of like not keeping the community up to date with things that are happening.
Is your hot take that the meta investors were told ahead of time?
Yeah, yeah, this was priced in at the market. Yeah, everyone that invested in the meta knew about it. They put in some puts this morning. Yeah.
Scott looks pissed. He didn't know.
I'm not pissed at all. It doesn't
He doesn't
actually
hold meta
affect
shares
me.
anyway.
I mean, someone could take down my blog probably, but that's about it. I mean, it doesn't really affect me. We don't use these at work currently, so it's kind of nice. We had the whole episode about React Server components where I was like somebody pushing for them at work, and it's not something we're using yet. So like, it's just less work. So I'm actually excited to hear that. That's probably the biggest pro for me is that I don't have to now sell why React Server components are still great, even though they have this epic vulnerability in them right now.
I took the day off of work because we're going on a trip, which I'll share on my stand-up update. But the first thing that came to my mind is like, one, yeah, at work we're probably not even, maybe no one's even talking about it. I mean, I assume someone shared it in a discussion channel, but like we're not impacted, fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. But then I also realized that I have countless side projects that are using maybe really old versions of Next or using Waku or using the Vite RSC plugin, and like all of those are going to be, I need to go through and update all of those. So that's going to be a good activity on the flight.
It shouldn't be that bad. There's an upgrade path for at least, I didn't read through the whole article. I was on the move. I think Next had an upgrade path, but was there upgrade paths for for everything that you're using? I know you use Waku.
Maintainer of Waku like didn't know about this, so they were just started looking at it after I shared it in the Discord channel for it. Yeah, Next.js was basically the only one that was like keyed in on the update. I guess the parcel setup also was keyed in just because they maintain their integration within the React repo, so it was patched at the same time. But yeah, I don't know. There's like a number of different things that will sort of have a trailing, sort of long tail of updates that might need to happen.
Maybe it's time to just stop using React.
Maybe, yeah, maybe we should point people back to our episode about Remix, the downfall of React episode.
We're getting there. Remix needs to actually be in a state where we can use it, right? That's
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
very
March
key.
or April. I'm sure it'll slip from there though.
Yeah, March 2030.
Yeah, exactly.
Remix 12.
Any further thoughts on the React vulnerability? I think it's maybe not too surprising for most folks of like React is going into the server, so it obviously opens the door to server vulnerabilities as well. Yeah, I don't know if I have any further hot takes.
Just that it's, I guess, unfortunate. I feel like they worked on server components for a while. I don't like normally I would say, oh, rushed, but I don't think that was the case here. I just think more so maybe unfortunate. It isn't widely adopted yet, I think everywhere. So it may be on smaller apps and maybe in some places. I know we adopted it at Wayfair, but I don't fully believe that it's widely adopted throughout the industry just yet, which I find interesting. It is unfortunate. It's a bad look for React. Perfect time for Remix to get deployed and ready to be used in an environment. Because I still think there's space for a de facto framework written on top of React. Again, Remix isn't. I don't know. Maybe it's how I feel, but I feel like Next.js was going to be this dominant player. It still kind of is, but I don't feel like. I feel like I've seen so many developers who have had issues with it that there's no one true de facto solution still. There's use case by use case related solutions that are better based on what you're building. I do think that there could be a dark horse player here that could start to be like a new framework around React or just a new framework in general.
Yeah, maybe we maybe we have a deeper dive on React, and if there's something
Yeah.
better than Next, maybe we do some like maybe Tanstack start is the way to go. I don't know.
Could be.
I guess like one other thought as you were talking that came to mind is like, Next had released some patches. They only patched back to the V15 major. So V16 was patched and V15 was patched, but not V14. It could be any number of things. It could be that they don't support V14 anymore because it's 3 December majors behind or whatever. But the one thing that's not clear from the React announcement of like, they announced like the 19.0 and above releases were impacted, but RSC existed in the Canary releases and experimental releases prior to the 19 stable cut. So I'm wondering if there's vulnerable code that might not get updated just because it hasn't been flagged or has been patched. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I feel bad for all the large apps that are on like maybe 17 or 18 and they just have a really hard time upgrading and now they're going to be forced to make a upgrade decision.
I think if they're not using Next or like another RSC framework, and they're on V18, then it should be safe, or like, they don't need to worry about upgrading. But
Right, I'm specifically talking about using React server components on those versions.
yeah.
This made me realize how annoying it is that you think you're using like React 18 in your app when you're using Next, because you are within your app using React 18, but the Next.js is just using some other random version. And I was looking at it with Matt before this, and it was like kind of hard to find that version without digging through 8 layers of node modules to a random file that had the version. And maybe there's a better way to do it, but it's just kind of weird that it ships at some random version. It kind of pissed me off. Next.js. Hot take.
Noted.
You can bleep
Coming from the guy who still works with it. Noted.
Please bleep that.
Oh, I can believe it.
Well, we thank the React team for giving us an early Christmas gift of this vulnerability. Gotta love to see that. earlier in this week, it's amazing. This week feels like it's been a month long, but it's only Wednesday when we're recording. But earlier this week, there was an announcement that Bun, everyone's favorite JavaScript runtime, package manager, test runner, etc., extraordinaire, has been acquired by Anthropic. Did you guys have this on your bingo card for 2025? Were you expecting to see Anthropic acquiring a JavaScript runtime?
Absolutely not, Matt. I didn't. JavaScript. This is putting JavaScript or TypeScript on the map right here. I'll tell you that. I mean, if it wasn't a hot commodity language to learn, now it is. If I'm doing a little bit of digging, isn't most of Bun written in Zig? Is that really what's happening here? Or is Anthropic acquiring Zig or Zig-based
They're,
programming?
they're not necessarily. I mean, the Bun team, from what I've seen, I guess like they've tried to make like proposals to the Zig language, but they've been shut
Mm.
down. And I think Jared had tweeted something around Thanksgiving saying that they had more shut down proposals for the language than approved proposals for the language, which is kind of crazy. But that is interesting to say. Like, just the other week, Zig had announced that they're moving off of GitHub as their source of truth, or like sort of code hosting solution, and moving to, I don't know if they announced exactly what they're moving to, but they're moving off of GitHub because of Microsoft and AI and shitification and whatnot. But it is interesting that, yeah, Anthropic's going after Bun, and Bun is written on Zig. And meanwhile, OpenAI is using their Codex agent as being rewritten into Rust. So it's an interesting space.
Big win though for JavaScript. It's a big win. I also think another one of the big pros is they're keeping the whole Bun team, a very talented team, and they're expanding that team. So it sounds like Anthropic likes the product enough and the team enough to say, "Hey, we're gonna acquire you and let you do what you do best." It's nice to see that from a company. For someone who works at a corporation or has worked at multiple corporations, it's nice to see when a corporation like really trusts the team that's working on something and keeps it the same, and they understand that and have value for that.
Yeah, I think another interesting aspect here is like Bun, maybe famously so far, has like openly admitted that they don't have a path towards profitability. Everything they make is free and open source right now. Um, a lot of people speculated early on in the year or early on in Bun's development of like, when is like Bun Deploy or Bun Cloud or whatever coming out. It's interesting to see, maybe this accelerates some of that stuff. Maybe they don't have to worry about it because Anthropic is printing some money, I assume. Maybe
Mhm.
they're not necessarily. I don't think Anthropic is making a profit at the moment, in the sense of like they make money, but they earn money, but they're probably spending more than that right now. Um, and so it'll be curious to see how that, like how this, sort of handles or comes to fruition in the coming months or years.
Yeah, it's not like a competitor kind of, I guess, like Deno, where Deno has plans when using it. So, like, I guess one of the thoughts I had was kind of getting into my cons list. I might be jumping ahead, but I believe the article stated that like it'll still be a free open source tool, but does that mean new features become price gated? And the other con I have here is now that it's no longer driven by like an open source community building for open source or open source consumers, really. Is Anthropic going to change the priority of what gets built for Bun? Are we going to see only features that Anthropic needs? I don't know if that's a bad thing. Could be a great thing, but it changes the audience of who's using it a bit. So it'll be interesting to see where Bun goes from here. I do think this is a net pro for Bun, and overall maybe we'll see more people adopt Bun in the future due to this major change. But there are some ambiguities. I'm interested in seeing how they shake out.
Yeah, kind of agree with your points being shared. I think also what might not be very clear to a lot of people when they hear this announcement is that Claude Code heavily uses Bun. Like they ship as a
Yep.
Bun compiled sort of single binary when you're running the CLI. But also, as far as I know, all the runtime code when you're using Claude Code in the web or through the mobile app, it's running on something that's running Bun, right? So it could be, I don't know, it could be some container in a Kubernetes ecosystem that Anthropic's running, maybe on AWS, and it's running Bun under the hood. They had already had these pretty solid investments into the Bun ecosystem, as I understand it. It is interesting. I wasn't necessarily expecting to see this announcement. I was actually kind of thinking about it as like, I wouldn't be surprised if Cloudflare would be interested in buying Anthropic eventually. They've been buying some sort of AI companies. I don't know if they're necessarily in the frontier model space versus the just run models sort of space.
Cloudflare by Anthropic.
Do you think that would happen?
I think there's a lot of cross pollination there. Like I think they like the Claude team like works closely with Cloudflare containers, and like from the people I follow on Twitter, very limited subset of both companies, but there seems to be some cross pollination there.
You said that, and it was like Anthropic to me sounds like their valuation. It feels like their valuation is probably super high to the point where I don't even think Cloudflare could afford it. But maybe that's just
That's true.
that's how it feels.
Yeah, that could be the case, but I think also like, as I think there's growing tension in the market of like, are these companies properly valued? The frontier model companies, are they properly valued? Are they, is OpenAI actually worth 500 billion, or are they actually worth 50 billion? And so like, I think there was also some news, maybe it's just leaks at this point, of like maybe Anthropic's gearing up for an IPO in 2026. So like that sort of Cloudflare buying them is probably less likely. Scott, you brought up Deno. What if OpenAI goes after and buys Deno and uses Deno as their sort of opinionated runtime for running coding tasks via codecs? That'd be interesting.
Not sure it'll make them faster, but well, I mean, it's not fair for me to judge Deno like that. I haven't really actively used it much. I just feel like for something that kind of rewrites how things work and behave, there's not a lot of support. I think one time you remember I was like building out a monorepo with it, and they have like Deno.json files, and I thought I could swap out all my package.json files, but it didn't support a monorepo. And I thought like, oh, well, I don't really want to go backwards here. So, I mean, I really got to give Deno a run in an app and see how I really feel about it. But Bun like was a very seamless integration. It's not the same as using npm or yarn or pnpm, especially when we were using it early. There's a lot less tooling that existed at the time, but at least you knew what you were doing with it as a runtime, and it kind of felt more like a seamless transition. I really enjoyed that with Bun, and Bun is just incredibly fast. I think Deno is as well, but Bun has been a seamless carryover from those other runtimes.
Yeah, I think that was maybe Bun's sort of stated goal when they started, of like try to be as compatible with Node, whereas like Deno maybe intentionally started with, we don't want compatibility, we want to like make it good.
That's a good point.
And then over maybe the past, I don't know, a couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, Deno has like maybe shifted focus to say, actually, we do care about compatibility because enterprises using Node care about compatibility. And that was like their path to profitability, is like get enterprises using Deno. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if other frontier model companies that offer services like this decide to buy other runtimes or other languages also. Like, you can't really buy a language, but I don't know. Like, yeah, maybe Elixir or the main team behind Elixir or something like that gets bought up, or the primary contributors to Effect get bought up by someone and used. I said, yeah, I don't know. It seems kind of an interesting move, but I think it'll pan out pretty well for Anthropic.
This was great.
All right. Any further thoughts on either topic? Otherwise, we can transition into our stand-up updates.
Dylan, you got any Bun Hun thoughts here? You guys using Bun over there at the big old Whoop factory?
Dylan's like, what is Bun?
Who uses Bun besides Matt? Like, and Claude, apparently.
We didn't use Bun at the big old W, did we? I use Bun all the time. I default to Bun. It's great.
Before this was announced, like, I had no idea that Anthropic had any ties to Bun, but that maybe I'm just not tied into that news like as much as Matt.
I mean, I would kind of expect that for a Cursor daily user instead of a Claude Code daily user. So
I would agree.
I'm using Claude Code now.
It's about time we've converted you.
Yeah,
It was just because I was given access. I'm not paying my actual
It's a superior product.
money for it.
It's a superior product. Anthropic, sponsor our ads.
I will say it's interesting. This is like sort of getting further away from the Bun side of things, but it's interesting that the frontier model companies are like kind of maybe falling into different niches. I'm sure they don't necessarily want to pigeonhole themselves this way, but like Anthropic is definitely going after coding and like enterprise like agentic use, whereas OpenAI is maybe still very consumer focused. I know they have enterprise agreements and contracts and whatnot, but as a layman in the industry, it's like I see OpenAI as the consumer name brand, like the Apple, for example, and then Anthropic more as the Windows of like, the enterprise sort of offering, or Microsoft rather now.
I feel like those are excellent analogies with like the OpenAI browser, and it's a lot about consumption of it, and they create the products as opposed to Anthropic being the developer's tool. I really like that thought. I hadn't had that thought. Great call out, Matt.
It's also maybe interesting to say, like, I think before this announcement, there were some threads online saying that OpenAI has internally like codified a code red, what they call like a, basically saying like all hands on deck. We need to figure out why we're losing to people like Anthropic or other sort of model provider companies. It does feel like OpenAI has like slipped in some regards of like not necessarily in terms of model capabilities, but just in terms of the product offering, right? Like I feel like they haven't really, besides the browser, they haven't really announced any like new exciting usage of ChatGPT or the models behind it. So I don't know. It's kind of curious to see. Like I feel like OpenAI was the dominant market player, but I think Anthropic has like been slowly, maybe not necessarily slowly, but like has been climbing back up to compete in the same weight bracket as OpenAI.
Is it clear that like market share of like enterprise companies using these different APIs, like where it stands? Because I feel like, especially where I work, we're pretty heavily invested into OpenAI, and I don't. It might be kind of hard for us to just completely switch over to Anthropic.
It sounds like they're doing their job then. That's what you want to be sticky and make it
Yeah.
difficult for these companies to get out of it. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I mean, to pull out a Scottism, it kind of depends on the use case of how your company has, or like how are you leveraging that contract with OpenAI, for example? Like, is it maybe the sales team using OpenAI to help, I don't know, do what, whatever, or is it engineering using the models from OpenAI and Codex, right? Like, um, you know, that doesn't necessarily speak to the stickiness, but it just speaks to like, yeah, like organizations might leverage one company or the other for different use cases. So like, for example, HubSpot, I don't know necessarily if it's private information, but I think we've shared often enough that we partner with both OpenAI and Anthropic for a lot of different things. So it's like we're paying for contracts for both of those things, but for different use cases internally. Primarily the Anthropic for the models for coding, and then OpenAI for things outside, like sort of day-to-day use, AI usage.
All right, completely unrelated, Matt. Did HubSpot ever get one of those plaques for like using 1 million
I,
tokens with
I
OpenAI?
saw those on Twitter. I don't know. Maybe
My company received one, I don't know, a couple of months ago.
that's pretty cool.
It's kind of a weird thing. Like, thanks for spending $1 million with
Yeah,
us or whatever.
yeah. Thanks for giving us 10 million over the past couple of years or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if we did receive one, but we're also such a big company that like we probably could have received one and not like someone shared it in a channel, but like not everyone's in that channel, so who knows?
In their desk and it's forgotten about.
Well, our CTO was like a big proponent, like big supporter of their company from the get-go. He was using it before it was like a consumer app. He was using it just as the API. So like I'm sure he himself used million or like has consumed or generated trillions of tokens or something. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, probably. We probably have a plaque sitting somewhere collecting dust. Who knows?
I just hope that I get a plaque when I personally cross 1 trillion tokens.
Yeah. That would be cool to see a leaderboard of individuals, like your friend group, like who uses AI the most.
This is a tangent, but there's like some weird sort of value that's given to people who use AI the most where I work right now, and we're all very confused, like how that makes any sense. Yeah, maybe that's a separate
Yeah.
episode, but
What's that rule or that law where it's like metric stops becoming something when it becomes a target or whatever? I don't know. follow me. I'm sure one of our listeners knows what I'm talking about. All right, let's do a quick stand up because we're running out of time on the recording. Dillon, what's up with you?
Bowling last night with the team, or actually, it's not even my team. All right, come back to me. That's not a great update.
I mean, that's a good update. Let's hear it. How did you win? Did you smack your team? Are you crashing out right now?
No, I'm not crashing out. The first game, I was just kind of messing around, and then the second game, we split up by age, and it was the old people versus the young people.
Allowed inside a work environment?
I don't know. I said we needed to pull HR in because this was not okay. I'm somehow the oldest person at this pod outing, which is starting to set in.
You working at?
That I need.
Are you working at W back in the mid 2010s? I mean, you're not
Yes,
that
yeah.
old.
This company is. I guess this company's like still sort of a startup, so there's a lot of young people here.
Doing 6-7 on your team.
Oh,
Dylan's
no,
like,
I don't
what is
know.
that?
Yeah, I guess you are old. I take it back.
But we crushed them, so experience did pay off. We were all above 100 points on the second game, which was pretty good. That's all I got. Oh yeah, Christmas is coming up. Looking forward to that. Who wants to go next?
Scott, you want to go?
I'll go. I'll keep it brief here. I don't know if I said it on the last podcast, but I'm finally just done with all of the long tasks I've been talking about since we started the podcast.
You're just gonna cut it.
They're all just complete. I'm done.
I'm just done.
I told the team like they don't need to work through Christmas. Like they're all done because I finished all the tasks. No one laughed. I did not do a good job setting that one up. I'll work on my my delivery. But I'm finally done with my visual diff work. Learned a lot. Teams switching over to a new product, to a permissions table. I'm so excited to build the best permissions table front end of all time. It's going to be so fancy. People are going to want to change permissions all the time. It's going to be so exciting. People are just going to go into the permissions table just to look at it. It's going to be so fun to look at. And they're going to be like, wow, why is this permissions table so great? Whoever's working on this permissions table needs to get promoted to the app.
Wait,
hopefully.
Are they permissions? Are they permissions or entitlements?
They're permissions.
What's the difference?
All right, good.
We'll save it for another episode.
I don't know.
I don't
I thought
know.
entitlement.
The word is good.
A new thing we were supposed to use.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. Stoked on Christmas. Matt, give us your stand-up.
Let's see. Yeah, this evening we're flying out to France for a week, hitting up some Christmas markets. That'll be fun. We recently launched like a little digital advent calendar for our friend group. I've been trying to squash bugs for that along the way. I was thinking maybe we do an episode about that, how like talk about how it was built and some of the features of it. Maybe that would be interesting to talk about.
I was assuming you just like found a open source repo of Advent Calendar and then hosted it on your own domain.
No, yeah, we built it.
Totally
yeah, so Katie did all the graphics for it, and then myself and Claude implemented it. So maybe we talk about that in another episode.
That'd be great.
That's about it. Yeah, we're like flying out like in a couple hours, so figured it'd be good to get an episode in quickly before we head out. And also looking forward to Christmas. I think I feel like we have a lot of travel in December. It's like, yeah, we have France, and then the weekend after we're going to Chicago, and then after that I'm heading back to Washington for Christmas itself. So it should be good.
You used to have that in the office, didn't you?
I don't know if I had this in the office. For the listeners, I just showed a rubber duck that's holding a dreidel.
Is it a dreidel? It looked like a lambda calculus book.
It's a dreidel. He's crying because we just all said we were excited for Christmas and not Hanukkah.
Damn, we just lost a listener or two.
No, we didn't. I meant to say Hanukkah. My ancestors are going to be shaming me.
Fuck Christmas. I'm excited for Hanukkah.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in and listening. Hope you enjoy this episode. It's a little bit different from most of our content. kind of timely versus timeless. Share it with people if you enjoyed listening to it. Let us know if you want to hear more episodes kind of like this where we cover semi-recent events or give our takes on some of those things. Otherwise, leave a like, leave a review. We really appreciate it. And have a great rest of your day, week, month, whatever it is. Our episode release schedule might be a little bit up in the air as we're nearing Christmas and the holidays. We'll try to get back into our weekly cadence that we had hit just a couple weeks ago. So thanks for listening. Peace out.